Well, my name is Brian Saletti, and I am a child life specialist here at CHKD in the Cancer and Blood Disorder Center. And I have the best job because I get to work with kids on a daily basis, and they're just full of life, and all they want to do is have a good time.
Now, that's what sets CHKD apart, of course, from other hospitals and even other children's hospitals as a child life program. Why don't you describe some of the things that make the child life services here so special?
Sure. So what we do here in the hospital is we make the atmosphere more normal for the kids to be in. As we know, hospitals can be kind of a scary place. And when the kids come in here, they don't know who we are. They're seeing different pieces of equipment. They're hearing different medical terms, being thrown about. So as a child life specialist, it's my job to make sure that the child understands why they're here. Any procedures that are going to be coming up or surgeries, we go ahead and prepare them for that procedure or surgery so that when they get there, they're not caught off guard. And then in the meantime, we do a lot of play therapy with the kids because as we said, kids love to play. Play is their work. That's what they want to do. They don't want to be involved in all kinds of boring adult stuff. They see toys, video games, arts and crafts, they're going to go for it. So, even in the lowest of times, the kids, that doesn't stop them. That doesn't, they could be in pain or they could be worrying about something, but when they see those toys and that play area, they're gone. They're in their zone.
What are some of the things that the kids that get involved in child life, what are the things that they really seem to enjoy here at the hospital?
Nowadays it's the video games, or, a lot of kids will come in with, their parents have an iPad or something like that. So everything is all, electronically sound nowadays, and, but, a lot of kids, they really just like getting down. We've got play mats here in the hospital. The kids like getting down and playing with, whether it's, cars or medical toys. They just like getting down on the floor on the play mats and, just having a good old time and just being a kid. And that's what we're here for, to try and help that take place. Because we want them to remain as normal as much as possible, even throughout their whole entire treatment.
What is it that made you decide that you wanted to do this?
So I've always wanted to work with kids in a hospital setting. I didn't, want to pursue nursing or be a doctor, but I wanted to work with kids kind of in a different manner. And when I was in college, I learned about the field of the child life profession, and it sounded interesting, and started taking some courses. And then my internship, I worked on a pediatrics floor. And got to know some really awesome kids and realized, yeah, this is exactly what I want to do. And how I got into the whole population of cancer, my youngest sister-in-law is a cancer survivor. She was diagnosed when I was a freshman in college. And at the time, her sister, my girlfriend, now my wife, we were dating, and she had a major impact on me. We got real close to one another, and I found myself helping through a lot of times in her treatment. And we're the best of friends today. She loves what I do, and I think it's amazing what these kids go through and what they teach us. So that's how I got into the whole cancer population end of things.
So even though you sort of technically play for a living,
yes, yeah, technically, yeah.
There must be days though when when it must be pretty hard to do what you do.
Yeah, there are plenty of those times where it does get very hard. It could be because we've either had a child who died from their cancer, or it could be we're just in a cycle right now where we've got all kinds of new diagnoses, and they seem to keep coming and they won't stop. So yeah, there are some trying times. But the way that I look at it is those times, I can't complain about those times because there's always somebody else, that I talk to in the next minute who's having a much harder day than I am. Maybe the parent, they've just lost their job and now they're having to go through this with their child. They can't help their child. So, I always try to remind myself that, my problems, they may seem big, but there's always other people out there that have bigger problems.
It certainly puts it into perspective, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
Daily life. What about, do you interact with parents much, or is it pretty much just the kids?
All the time. I interact with parents on a daily basis. One of the jobs that I do carry is parent education. We get involved with the siblings. We run a siblings program here called XSIBS, Extremely Important Brothers and Sisters, because we know that the whole family gets affected when their child gets diagnosed. It's not just the child, it's the mom, it's the dad, it's the grandparents, it's the siblings that are involved. So I do work with the parents. We educate them on different things. We do different support programs for the parents. We just had a Valentine's lunch that we did for the parents. You know, it's just a way for them to kind of get away from everything and just be a couple. Because a lot of parents lose sight of their marriage. They get thrown into this and they have no time to even say hi to one another. So it's our job to try and create some support programs where they can be involved and enjoy themselves.
And of course, all of this takes money. How can you break down some of those costs for us? I mean, where some of this money goes and how it helps Child Life?
Yeah, a lot of the money goes towards buying supplies, like arts and crafts supplies, video games. We've got portable DVD players that we purchase for families to use when they're in clinic. We have TVs at the bedsides, but if all the bedsides are being filled, we've got other kids that maybe are in chairs and not in a bed, want to watch a movie, so we've got little DVD players for them. So that money goes there. It goes towards, resources for education. We do different things throughout the year. One of the things we do is the XIPS program. That's an educational thing. So we buy, materials for that program. So there's all different kinds of things. It's not just about the medical equipment, which costs lots and lots of money, but we do other things for the families, providing transportation for them, reimbursements for a lot of these prescriptions. Some of these chemotherapies, are $1,000 for one little vial of chemo. That all adds up. And then you add life on top of it, gas prices, food prices at the supermarket. So the money that comes into us really goes to some very important things that really help this program support these families in a very big way.
So you're meeting a child for the first time, say. They're just beginning their treatment.
Okay.
Why don't you take us through a little bit of what that's like? How do you introduce yourself to a child? How do you introduce them to CHKD and what they're about to go through?
Okay. So we all basically meet the family as a team. It's, Child Life, social workers, the nursing staff, the physician. We all kind of sit down together and talk with the family. Basically, from my end, what I do is I try to get kind of an assessment of the child. Have they ever been in a hospital setting before? Do they understand what's going on? Have we used the word cancer yet with this child? Because a lot of parents will come to us and say, I don't want to use the word cancer just yet. So we'll respect those parents' wishes, but we'll try to redirect them and give them some education about, this is how, we need to handle things. They're going to hear the word cancer. So we really try to sit down and do an assessment of where they've been, where they're at right now. And the physician goes over all the diagnostic things. If the child is too young and doesn't need to be involved in the conversation, I will step aside and really interact with the child that way while the physician and the nurse and the social worker are talking with the parents or the caretaker. This way the child's not wondering, where's mom or dad? What's going on? Why am I just sitting here by myself? We'll go ahead and do some play therapy with that child while the discussion is being had. So it's really in a team approach. And really the families, they take to it right away. I mean, they embrace our support. The families, they appreciate what we have here for them.
Working with kids all these years, I'm sure you've learned a lot. Is there anything, what's the most surprising thing you think children have taught you?
Their resiliency. It's amazing. I've worked with lots of kids who, in their lowest of times, they break through. Kids have so much to offer. A lot of, adults take kids for granted. They think, they're just 5 years old. What do they know? Well, I tell you what, a 5-year-old probably knows more than every one of us sitting in this room right now. I've had some pretty intriguing conversations with 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds about their cancer. They know more about their diagnosis. They know more about their treatment than any of us in the room, because their mind is just so full of all kinds of great things. They're not worried about things like who's going to pay the bills and who's going to do this, that, and the other thing. They're worried about, their play and, who's going to take care of me today. And the knowledge that we learn from these kids is it's amazing. they're powerful little people, and we should never take them for granted.